How everybody doing tonight? We are back. We back here at breaking the mental chain the ADOS way. Um, we're gonna talk about banking a little bit tonight, and I may start the show off a little bit talking about some of the what's been going on through the week. You know, some of the police shootings. I looked up something the other night and realized that we had almost in the last 24 hours or so where we had almost 6 people killed within the last 24 hours. So I realized that I want to touch on it and bring the people attention that I don't see this ending. We here at ADOS, we understand that we got to engage politically to bring forth a change of the things of all the things that we are seeing that's happening to ADOS people. I mean, I sit and I try to tell people it's going to take more than just we. A lot of us we want to do the stock. We want to play the stock because the stock we feel it's going to make us some money. What we don't understand about the stock is it's also a resting place for white wealth. It's how they maneuver to avoid taxes, to not pay so much in taxes too. So understand we're looking at one group, the white group, that actually access the stock market. Totally different than you, than an ADOS person. But they tell you about it and you take it and run with it as if this is the way I can build wealth. But white people did not build wealth from the stock market. They wealth come before generations before we ever had the stock market. We got that. The one key thing we must understand our history. And to understand our history, once you can understand the history, you can understand the lies that stand before you. What you need to understand is your ancestors' bodies was the stock. Their bodies was the guaranteed approval for credit. Your ancestors' bodies was that. So we living in a time and an era where what we want to do, we want to bring to the light how these things are still connected together. So right now in 2021, white people are resting their money in the stock while making money, but also getting tax breaks. We, on the other hand, we take our pennies and ADOS people, we put our money in the stock. And the number one thing we want to do with it, we want to hope it can grow. We try to take 1,000, we try to put that 1,000 in the stock, turn it in, go to 1,500, which still ain't enough money to build no kind of wealth for your kids. Because most of us as ADOS, as well as we can't keep money in what I'm going to talk about tonight, these banking deserts, we also going to be hard. If you can't keep money in the bank, it's going to be hard also to keep it in stock. You're going to be pulling it. You're going to need it just like you need it out of the bank. So we find ourselves dealing with a double-edged sword. Once again, it comes back to our wealth position. And because of that wealth position, nothing goes quite as well as it do for somebody that has so much wealth, where they can leave it there and forget it. We haven't been made whole in this country, so we can't do that yet. Another thing I want to bring up is I want to touch on this, like I spoke on before, is the shootings. Last 24 hours, 6 people killed already in 24 hours. Here, our ultimate goal here at breaking the mental chain is to do ultimately is to connect the dots, and we want to always, as I say, keep balance of cause and effect. That's what our ultimate goal we want to do. And the way we do that, ultimately the way we do that is we draw the line between where did it start at and what is the effect that we are dealing with it now in real time. So with that being said, this is what the conversation is always. It's always about educating our people to connect the dots on all levels. Now understand, with the lead of a mass incarceration of ADOS men, that is ultimately also going to impact ADOS homes. See, all this stuff is tied together. It ain't no separate. I give you an example. You got white women speaking against abortion. People look at them and say, "Oh, they're good people. They are against abortion." They want to see black life. They want to see babies born. They want to see them raised. Well, let me connect the dots again back to our wealth position. So you got a white woman saying she against babies being abortions happening. Well, the next question you need to ask her is, are you for reparations? Someone say, why would I ask, is she for reparations? Because this child that she want to bring in this world, right, it's going to cost money to give it a good life, to create a home. It's going to cost money. Well, the life this child comes in, this child is connected to descendants of slaves. His father and mother is ADOS. You want that child born, but you are denying financial upward mobility to the mother and the father of that child, yet you say you are against abortion, when really you are all for abortion and you are for oppressing that child that will one day be an adult. Because I have been a child. You have been a child. I don't care what your age is now. It started out as a child. Stop believing people when they say one thing. You got to connect the dots. If you care about the child, you got to care about the parent. See, all of it is intertwined and connected. Let no one lead you in the wrong direction when it comes to connecting the dots. You can't care about the child without caring about the parent. If you have locked the ADOS parent out of financial upward mobility, that child life is going to be a nightmare, as my life as so many ADOS people life has been, because our parents was locked out, and now we are in the shoes of our parents, still remaining locked out, while we allow people to use their emotional way of doing things to say, hey, I'm not like that. I care about kids. I don't deal with reparations. I don't deal with the black agenda. I'm here for the kids. Can't be here for the kids without being there for the parent that must take care of the kid, the child. So here we have the whole conversations. When I speak on more ADOS men being in prison than all race of women in the world, let's connect the dot to what that has done to the household, what we consider the family structure. The family structure is broken because most of the time that family structure is a single parent, meaning whereas in white household, 80% of them are family orientated. What I mean, they ain't broken. It's a woman there, a white woman there, and a white male there. They have both parents. With those both parents, you get the upbringing of, if you're a little boy, you get to watch your dad be a man. You get to watch that dad show you what it is to feel safe. You get to watch that dad bring things that you need to put a smile on your face. You also get, when we talk about when we go and talk about when we talk about the mother, you get to see that mother be that caring when you get sick. When you get sick, and that mother has to nurture you back to health. You get to see that mother do things that brings you back to health. That makes you um where you can do when you sick, she be there to make it where she nurses you back to health. So you get the balance. You have the balance. And also with both of those parents, they also both white woman, to show you how all this stuff is connected. The white woman making 81 cents on the dollar, the white man makes the dollar. So you in a household that also, for its income wise, has enough money to create opportunity for that child. See? And you also, what else that child get the benefit from is the inheritance that both of those parents also will receive. Doing what? Generating even a better life for that child, because that's even more wealth bringing in. They do what for that child? Give it more opportunity. Now we're going to come over and look at the structure of the ADOS family. Now understand, I'm talking about families because I'm going to get to this killing of the young lady, Miss Bryant. This is why I'm talking about it. I want to paint a picture, so because I know people are very emotional over what we have witnessed. This is a child. She was 16. She was gunned down in cold-blooded murder. Some may say the police had no choice. Know and understand, we can look at numerous videos that show repeatedly that the police have encountered. Miss Bryant wasn't the first person that the police had encountered that posed a threat of death. Yet, we look at video after video where white males have not only had a gun on a suspect, but turned the gun onto the police, yet he did not get shot. He got apprehended, he got put in handcuffs, he left without a scratch. We have watched videos where the police also was getting stabbed himself, yet no guns was drawn. They had out tasers. So we know here at ADOS our position. And that position is very critical for us to understand. But when it starts with your child and your child start in a broken household, meaning that household is broken because it's a single parent household, yet it also don't have the wealth that it takes for Miss Bryant to get what she needs as in the white household. What I'm saying is the family structure has been broken. The teaching, the set for the father to sit down, to be there as Miss Brianna would be as she would grow, to educate her in who she is, teaching her that she is ADOS, teaching her and the mother, teaching her that you will be treated different. The work hasn't been done to fix this broken system that I have birthed you into. Now, what I mean when I say birthed you into, no one has done the work before the birth of this child to undo a broken system that automatic labels this child as a criminal and a threat without the knife in her hand. She has already been labeled that without the knife in her hand. You put the knife in her hand, and now the opportunity to kill her is there. So it's once that opportunity is there, who do you have? You have the white cop. As soon as he approached the scene, the gun is drawn and his whole intention is to kill. But Miss Bryant had no chance because from birth, the oppression was already there. The broken upbringing was already there. The pressure on her life had already inflamed her anger when she got put in a confrontation that led to her acting out in a way, because we know pressure busts pipes. We know pressure busts pipes. If pressure busts pipes, this child was only the what you saw was the reaction of pressure busting pipes. We move to the scene that we know. We know that our group is the group that they constantly or after to do things to and to hurt. So we know when they come that they coming to hurt us, and they coming to do something harmful to us. So that leads to us being where people that when you see something like this, you're like, yo, it's wrong. They doing it all the time. They do it to unarmed men. They do it to men that say, hey, I'm just here. I'm getting ready to show you my papers. and I get shot. You know what I'm saying? That I have a right to have a gun. We see thousands and thousands of ADOS men be murdered all the time with no repercussion to it. Now, so understand this young lady that's been killed started out with this in this broken system that ADOS is trying to educate our people on how dear it is for us to fight to fix it and plan to stop anything you can come up with that does something for you. It don't fixes us as a group, and our movement is about group uplift, not individual uplift. It takes a group to do economic, not one person, because a single person can't do economic by himself. So we got to remember for the group, it ain't about you yourself building a safe haven, because your safe haven won't be safe once it gets interrupted by some injustice act, whether it be you, your child, your mother, your uncle, your son, somebody in your family get caught in the crosshairs of a system that has not been fixed. So if you choose to fix it, the first thing you must do is get on board with ADOS and get involved in the fight, not try to escape the fight. It's really no escaping it. Either we fight it or we shut up and watch the slaughter. I say it again. Either we fight or we shut up or we sit and watch the slaughter. I am at the point where I'm tired of looking at what we call reactionary. Most black people are so emotional driven. The only time they do anything is to react to something being done. If nothing has been done, they silent, they going on about life as if something is fixed. No, it's not fixed. You just ignoring it. You wait for the next moment for it to happen. And trust me, it's gonna happen. The question is, who child will it be this time? Who brother will it be this time? Who daughter will it be this time? Who nephew will it be this time? Who niece will it be this time? Who mother will it be this time? Who husband will it be this time? Who wife will it be this time? That's really all you doing. So if you tired of the way things are, it's time to stay activated, not be reactionary to the things that's happening to try to prevent them from happening. As we see here on the screen, is no way a single black parent can keep up with a white nuclear family financially. Exactly. It's no way we could do it. We've been locked out. And this being locked out leads to all of the disparities that you see. So I wanted to touch on that because that's something going on in the news, and all the shootings are going on in the news. The trials are going on in the news. As you see with the George Floyd case, 8 weeks before they come back with what his punishment gonna be. I say all the time, we got to always watch the pivot. How many people been in court in here and they told them that, hey, you guilty, but we'll give you your charges in 8 weeks. We'll give you your punishment in 8 weeks. That ain't even normal how it goes. The way it goes is you be found guilty, we charge you Johnny on the spot. But once again, the privilege come back. He's a white cop. The privilege come right back. They say, oh, no, not the case here. We'll let you know in 8 weeks. First thing black folks go to do is go and celebrate because they got a guilty plea. That ain't saying he guilty ain't enough. We got to know what his punishment is for being guilty. Because the truth is, his punishment can be as simple as a slap on the wrist, even after the guilty plea. So, here tonight, I want to just remind everyone, you can, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat, and when we answer, I should be seeing even my chats in Facebook. I don't see nobody text yet from Facebook, but if you have a question and you're on my Twin City page or on ADOS Wheel, you ask a question, we'll do everything we can to try to answer. Because the key here is to build. What we trying to do here is to build, physically build, mentally build strong warriors for this ADOS movement. To carve ourselves out as the critical thinkers that gonna change the future for our kids, for ADOS people. So and that's the key here. So we're gonna have a tough conversation. We're gonna always be trying to educate. We're gonna always know and teach how to connect these dots, how nothing is really separated. And right, he may get 10 years with only 2 being probation. You see, these are the things that we still got to notice, that this man can still get off after a guilty plea. So it's not the time to celebrate. It's the time still to put pressure on, and we got to be the ones putting the pressure on. Now, with that being said, I just want to touch on some of these topics to bring it current. If anybody got anything they want to say on these topics, of course you can hit the chat. Of course you can call in. Probably about at halftime we'll stop, and when I come back, we'll start taking some calls. I'm gonna start on this article, and what we talking about on this article is basically what this article gonna be about is about financial desert, banking deserts, and of course it's in we in North Carolina, so we talking from North Carolina. Let's see here. It's telling me I can't share. I'm unable to share, please. Hold on, let me try to share this again. It's tripping on me. We'll do it again. Here we go. Hold on just 1 second. Do it again. Okay. So it should be there. Okay. So here's the article we talking about here. Let me make it a little bigger so everybody can see it. Alrighty. So we talking about banking deserts, and the reason I'm talking about these banking deserts, because this kind of gives you the where you can see how this affects us once again financially and hurts our wealth positioning. Because when you got to pay to cash checks, when you got to go to these check cashing places that overcharge to cash your check, that makes your check smaller. When you go to get loans and you have to pay more, that takes away from your wealth too. So this is important. It's a quick think desert, hard pan clay or soft golden sand, barrens wasting land, or camel crescent dunes. Think again. We're not talking about an aloe here. We're talking about you and me, or our friends and neighbors. We're talking about financial deserts. Financial deserts or bank deserts or low income city neighborhoods or poor rural areas where residents live far away from any mainstream financial institution at all. Places where people can get to banks, and so they just don't. Now, this article basically is telling you that these banks say it ain't no money there, I'm gone. And understand when they say no money there, and it's our group there, we be hurt by that. Because then these banks move further away, which costs us more money to try to get to one, or we just can't. It's an ATM, and all your transactions may be done there. Or the ATM you got by you ain't your bank, so you can't even do transaction there. So you forced into these predatory lending places. So we'll go back to the article. Let's do it like this so I can spread it out. So the banking, they're a problematic iron to financial deserts. They happen in poor neighborhoods because the banks cannot get enough customers. But then those neighborhoods become even poorer because not having a bank account actually costs you more. Accounts actually cost you more. So it says, think about it. Without a bank account, you don't earn interest on your savings. You pay higher fees to wire transfer money through alternative service like Western Union, and you don't build credit. You don't have access to bank credit or debit cards, and credit cards you do qualify for likely charge abundance. No credit means that you get a loan. You have to utilize services like alternative lending services, who charge much higher interest rates because of the higher risk of lending. So, what we are seeing here is once again connecting to first, you've been starved out financially. Now, these banks are saying you don't have enough wealth to help me make money because your money in the bank, out of the bank. So we got to move our banks to where the money is. So if the ADOS community is being starved out, of course we can't keep money in the bank. And the reason I wanted to do this article, because so many of us are still talking about some type of wealth we have, and we got things like this going on. And it's hindering us. Our group is being starved out by this. Yet we tell ourselves how financial wealthy we are. How can we be so financially wealthy when the banks can't even stay in our community? See, and I get it. Some of you gonna say, "Hey, I keep my money under the bed mattress. I keep mine in the closet. I hide mine under the house." Yeah, this is it. It's some people doing that, but I bet my bottom dollar, most of you are check to check. You ain't hiding no money nowhere. It ain't nowhere to hide what you don't have. So understand. Another thing is that even that money you hide in the house, it will eventually expose itself because you still got to pay for things. See, that will still do what? Benefit the bank. So even the money you got in your mattress, it's still gonna be exposed. That will still end up benefiting the bank to be there. You get the worst of all worlds without access to banks, all their services. That's right. You get hammered. You get hammered at all the different levels because of the banks not being there. So who's affected? A shocking number of people are unbanked or underbanked in this country. Almost 20%. Most of those people live in financial deserts, and many of them are minorities, particularly Black and Hispanic. Once again, Hispanic made up word, but hey, mainly it's gonna be ADOS people paying more to do less with their money. Further disenfranchise these already unserved population. Mr. Brown, president of the Phillies Rudolph Institute, put it well. Capital that is in different circumstances will stay in a community to foster local business, support schools, build civil engagement, bleeds out, and leaves little left over to nourish families and proper upward mobility. Financial deserts is considered to keep people poor. See, it's right here telling you what these things are put in place to do. And what they are put in place to do is to keep us poor because they chip away at our financial stability. Now, I talked about the person having the money on the mattress and that money not being enough. Still, if he would put it in the bank to support the bank, so the bank got to go. So we go down here. It says, in fact, the whole state economy is affected via both individual and small businesses. A 2005 study found that loan rates increased with the distance between the banks, the distance between the business and the bank. As larger businesses are usually located in population centers, this probably disproportionately affects small businesses, a real issue since they are 99.7% of the employees in our state. Small business drive investment, entrepreneurship. When they struggle, so does our economy. There's more bad news. While financial deserts have been evolving among minority, low-income communities since the federal deregulations in the 1990s, they've getting worse. They've getting worse. Banks, as a collective, have closed nearly 5,000 branches since the financial crisis. Where are those branches likely closing? That's right, in areas with fewer customers, like rural areas with low population density. North Carolina deserts. North Carolina ranks high on the financial desert list. We have 38 in rural areas. The problem's been growing for some time. In 2005, we had 133 FDIC insured institutions in the state. We've lost 34 of them since. So these things are dropping, and it's all around money. And the reason I want to stop right there to point out how in the ADOS community, how often we try to say money ain't needed. It's fine. We don't. Everything ain't about money. I hear this a lot. I get told this a lot, that everything ain't about money. Yet everything this article is talking about that's creating these disparities are coming from lack of money. So just imagine if money was input into that community, it will automatically start a domino effect of things changing. Everything will start to rewind and go back. So as we try to say, money don't matter. Everything sure it does. Because a lot of times with the ADOS group, we try to deal with everything from a religion standpoint. That the truth is, I said this before. Your religion is your religion. Keep it at home, in your family, where you go to church at, where you choose to reside that religion at. When it comes to really saving your family here in this space, you're gonna have to be involved with the thing that's going on around you. Your religion has nothing to do with how these banks are operating. These banks are not operating from a religious standpoint. They are operating at a financial standpoint. With that being said, you're going to have to deal with them at that level, like it or not, because I don't care what your religion is. If you walk into any one of these institutions and say, let's pray today, because we're going to pray, because I want to get this on. They're going to say, probably, whoever you sit, depending on who you sit in front of, they're going to probably pray with you. But at the end, they're going to run that credit through this institution that's going to either approve you or deny you. They don't care about what you just prayed about. So a lot of times to fix things, you're going to have to be engaged to fix them. What we need is more innovative solutions. Companies like self-help credit unions, which dedicate 90% of their service to low-income families or people of color, or get or a greater start. Understand these terms like people of color. I'm gonna come out of this article for a minute. So understand these terms like people of color are not specific to a certain group of people. Meaning, what we are watching that happening is a lot of times, and I want to say something in my chat. I got this keep right on coming up. I'm trying to stop it, but it keeps coming, so I can't stop it. But anyway, we'll get back to that. But in these deserts, when this is happening, it's when you heard the term people of color, the first thing I want everybody to remember about people of color, remember there are no invisible people. So when it comes to data, what you got to do is do micro data. You got to look at specific groups and see how it's affecting them specifically. You can't come up with a term and put everybody under that umbrella, because the truth is affecting people, different groups differently. All the data shows that. So what you will find is a lot of times these groups, these people pull and try to umbrella everything, because that's the race of ADOS. they try to erase ADOS people, American descendants of slaves. George Floyd may still be alive if we had wealth. Breonna Taylor wouldn't have been in the apartment complex if she had wealth. This is true. It all draws back to it. Everything draws back to our wealth position. Let nobody mislead you. Now, this was in North Carolina. I'm gonna share another. I'm going to Mississippi. We're gonna go to Mississippi and look at Mississippi and find out same thing been trending. I'm gonna share it right here. Is it? Let's see here. See, can we get it to come up? Wrong one. That ain't what I want to share. Hold on. Trying to get the right thing I want to share. Here we go. All right. So let me share it again. I hit the wrong one. We're going to go back to it. What I'm trying to do is show you how all these things are still intertwined to be connected. And how we want to separate things. But the truth is, it ain't no separating. They all exist. They all are here. We right here in this Mississippi thing, as you see right here. Mississippi dealing with it. The same thing. Now I'm gonna go into this article a little bit because I want people to see it's the same story. Everywhere we go, it's still targeted at ADOS. We jumped all the way out of North Carolina. We over here in Mississippi now. We still dealing with it. So we look here in Mississippi. It's a town with no banks. Jalen Rose report for a NBC News piece about banking deserts. As a professional chief and community organizer, I have long known about food deserts, but her research opened my eyes to a pattern of systematic racism that undergirds predatory banking and how it affects education, agriculture, transportation, the environment, and commercial in the rural and urban ADOS, American Descendants of Slave community. Low-income residents and the elderly community are especially vulnerable to banking deserts, which are defined as areas with, financial and banking service. They are usually in less populated rural spaces, which means large institutions have fewer profit opportunity. So we see here, we see the ADOS community being affected by it. Again, in Mississippi. Now, of course, this article, they in ADOS in Mississippi, ADOS Mississippi, did this article with the NBC up there and pointed out and it connected the dots. Once again, I like to always point out how we got ADOS people all over the state doing the work, trying to bring forth truth with the data, our lineage, the history of these very institutions. And a lot of times these institutions lay on the back of ADOS men and women that somehow have forgot that they're ADOS. They have forgot they are the American descendants of slaves. Because I say it all the time, we feel that we have reinvented ourselves. You can't reinvent yourself because you can't change who your grandma was, granddaddy was, mom and daddy. You must accept who you are, because if we don't eventually accept that we are ADOS, American descendants of slaves, that's who we are. We're not people of color. We're not black and brown. We ADOS. And understand they just gave agents 50 million. Joe Biden approved it. Now, did those agents come out and say, we are people of color and all people of color should get some of this money? No, they got it for themselves and forgot us. So we see that everybody's moving for their own group. It's time for ADOS to move for their own group. And the truth be told, I get a feeling a lot of times. I was in a meeting the other day, and I had to call out because I asked at this meeting who wanted to be part of the reparation discussion that's being had right here in Winston-Salem. And I heard crickets. Yet I was in a group that's supposed to be fighting for the disparities of ADOS black people. How do I ask a question? Who would like to be at the table for the discussion of reparations for ADOS black people and get crickets back? See, the truth is, it's a lot of black ADOS people that's just as racist towards their group than white folks. That's how bad we got it in this country. That our own people are racist towards their own people. If I don't know what else to tell you when you tell me you fight for black people, ADOS people, yet you don't want to be at the table for the biggest thing that can make these people whole. How do you not want to be at the table with the biggest thing that make these people whole? But yet you say you fight for them. You can't be fighting for them. You must be fighting for your own hidden agenda. We call that grifting. At Breaking the Mental Change, ADOS calls that grifting. And here we don't grift. We stand for our people, our group. That's who we stand for. And when the discussion of reparation come up, you can believe ADOS gonna be there if we can be there. Because that's a discussion we want to be part of. Now, also notice when I say within our own group, we got other blacks, ADOS people that's just as racist as whites within our group. I noticed on Facebook, you got different groups up there that when things get posted within their group for ADOS, they deny it. They won't approve it to be in their group. Yet they say, I stand with black people, ADOS people. Once again, we see that these organizations and groups are moving like grifters. How do you say, I'm for black business, I support black business, but you don't support black politics that would infuse that black business with the capital that it needs to survive in the system where it's struggling to survive? How don't you sit down at the table with the people that's talking about the infusion of money that black business can get and grow? You deny the conversation with those people that know what it's going to take. Yet you delude your people as if what you're doing is very profitable. I make money doing this. I make money doing that. But where are you at in the fight for your people to be able to spend money with you? What are you doing as a black business to turn around and say, I must stand for reparations and a black agenda so that my people can really spend money with me? Or am I just grifting and trying to convince them just to do black business? Am I also being a predator to my people? Yes, you are. It's a lot of black businesses that's running on Facebook, running on Instagram that are very predatory towards their own people. See, but the way they moving, they use the grift is trying to use the fact I'm black and you should just support me. Well, I'm black. ADOS is black. And we saying don't support nobody that don't support you back. Because there's always a way to support you back. No matter what they tell you, it's always a way to support you back. See, when you tell them to support you back, ADOS is telling black business to support ADOS if you truly believe in black entrepreneurship. If we can't get black business to support the deity that's saying we need wealth redistributed into our community, into our people through reparations and a black agenda, and you are not on board with that, you ain't with black people. Stop it. You are doing the same thing they are doing with the predatory lending. You being a predator too. As in the comment in the chat, we got they are seeing if they can carve out a for themselves. That's right. That's what they're trying to do. Carve out a space for themselves and their families. Similar to how you see a church with multiple pastors from the same family. That's do for selfer. We must stop falling for the okie doke of people throw black on it and start saying, how does that benefit me back? Not just how it benefits you, how does it benefit the group? See, because too many of us are thinking just for our individual selves. We won't stop and say, okay, I don't mind spending my money with you, but what are you doing to help the group? Because we got banking desert going on, we got predatory loaning going on, we got all this going on. But what are you doing to help the group? And if you ain't gonna help the group, why does the group need to help you? Why do I need to be part of anything you doing if it don't come back and help me? Understand the way the white dollar moves, it moves like a boomerang. Like a boomerang. They send it out, it comes back. See, that's group economics. In our group, we spend money with black folks that say they doing black business, yet everything within their business come from white capital. White capital. Once again, starving us out again. So basically, these black businesses become the middleman to white capital. It's really no black business going on. We'll see this in this article. You see, they talk about it. All this is drowning, sending that money back out again, and it's not coming back. Because that black business that you gave your dollar to, and I use a dollar because it's just as simple. If 40, 50, 60% of that can't come back and help back in that black community, they are doing the same thing as these white institutions that own these banks are doing. They predators. What I just connected the dot to, we got black businesses that's just as predatory on black folks, ADOS people, as white banking deserts are doing. Now, I want to share another article here to connect the dots. That not only are we dealing with these banking that's leading to banks being driven out of the poor communities, the ADOS communities that make us pay more for everything, even to cash your check. Just the bank is causing you everything. You got to go get payday loans. You got to do all of these are very predatory. They eat you up with interest, causing your wealth to drop. So once again, we connecting the dots. Now, what I'm about to connect the dot to is how these very institutions that's creating banking deserts, how our ancestors' bodies built the wealth that they got already, and now they still preying on us. I'm gonna share an article here about how we can tie. Once again, I say ADOS, we tie everything back to slavery. And if you listen to somebody that ain't doing that, just say, hey, can he connect the dots? Most of the times he can't connect the dots. Let's go back, didn't do right. Hold on a minute. Let's share this thing again. Where you at? The list. Okay, here we go. All right. So if you look here, what we looking at right here is this article here is talking about the incomplete list of the United States companies and universities that benefited from black slavery. So we look at what we see right here, right now, is an article telling us that these corporations that's leading to these banking deserts that make us have to go to these payday loan places. See? And cash checks that make your check less. They all was built off the backs of your ancestors. And they still are treating you just like they did your ancestors, just in a slicker way. They are creating spaces that cost you more to do business. See, you still being treated as your ancestors while we run around and not own up to being ADOS. That's who you are. You're an American descendant of slavery. Everything moving the same way it did for your ancestors, it is for you. So I'm gonna go to this article because I want to stroll down this article and show you some of these institutions that are here present today. They here in America today, thriving off of what was done to your ancestors. As we see right here, we got AIG. Now, AIG. What did Obama do for AIG? He bailed them out, right? But look what AIG did to your ancestors. And they still making money. The government still funding them. They still making money. Let's look what they did to your people, though. They bought American General Finance, which owned U.S. life insurance company. U.S. Life used to insure the lives of slaves. They insured the lives of slaves. So people want to talk, oh, it won't in New York. It won't. Listen, we right here, we see it was all over the country. These people profited off of slavery. Now they creating banking deserts because you don't have any wealth, but you built their wealth. Understand when we say an insurance company insured the lives of slaves. So that means that a white man or white woman could take one of their slaves and say, he old and decrepit, put a big insurance policy on him, and I'm going to kill him anyway. Because, they could kill him. You see? And make more money. So, look at this. And they also insured the lives of slaves in 1850s. These companies are current companies that some of y'all have life insurance with right now. Even I have life insurance with some of these companies right now. This is what I mean by connecting the dots. When you can connect the dots and look around you and understand it's institutions that still stands, that profit off not the Asians. They didn't profit off the Asian bodies. They didn't profit off Mexican, Puerto Rican, Kenyan. They profit off your ancestors' bodies. That's why you can't be grouping yourself with everybody, because everybody ain't got the same lived experience as ADOS people. That's why ADOS carves out of space. Nothing against these people at all, but I must know who I am and my lived experience and what has been done to my people. Because, as I always say, in playing spades, if you play spades, anybody know how to play spades? We are the big joker. We trump everybody's story. That's why everybody try to use our story while we run around trying to deny our story. We must stop denying our story. This is why I say in these households, it must be taught to your kid who they are. Who they are. I don't care if they go off to college and become an engineer, a doctor. If you don't educate them on who they are lost. What is happening before us is the eraser of us. We going to stroll down this list because we see Bank of America. I know a lot of you got money with Bank of America. See, grew part out of the Bank of Metropolitan who accepted slaves as collateral. Here it is. They accepted slaves as collateral. See, I'm sitting here telling you your people, your ancestors' bodies was the currency that drove America. Now you're pinching you pinching pennies. You pinching pennies. You trying to do Wall Street, but you ain't trying to fight these people for the debt that they owe you. You're sidestepping any chance not to fight them. Yet everything that thrives around you, everything you brag about, it's your people created it. They created it. We're going to go down this list of this thing because I need you to see all the things that done profit off of your people's bodies. I need you to see it all because I need you to understand This is still happening. It's still happening. You see right here, Brook Brothers got it start making clothes for slaves. For slaves. Now, the connect the dots of the Brook Brothers making clothes for slaves. Abraham Lincoln, when the Civil War happened, the North started losing the war. Stop giving him credit for freeing slaves. Know the true history. When they started that war, that Civil War, the North was losing, started losing. And when the North started losing, Abraham had to come up and think of a new plan. That's why I always say, right? I'm always saying, you must learn to play chess. We must become chess players and stop being chess pieces. See, as long as you run around here not knowing who you are the chess piece. See, I am the chess player. ADOS is the chess player. We are the chess players. That's why our conversation comes off so hard on some people, because it shocks the mind. What is wrong with these black people? Why are they flying that American flag? Because we are American. We built the richest nation, one of the richest nations in the world, and we know it. And we know it. This shows us we did. We trying to get you to connect the dots. The protest won't fix it. The brain, becoming a critical thinker, being in the right places, knowing why I talk like I talk, I know what I know, is knowing this. The protest won't stop it. Now you look, when we talk about the clothes, and I tell you about Abraham Lincoln, understand, when they won the war, it was a discussion talked about sending us back to Africa, putting us out of the country. Understand what I'm telling you. They was talking about sending us out of the country. But the reason they didn't send us out of the country, because they would lose so much money because of Brook Brothers. They were building the shoes, the clothes for slaves. They would have went under if they sent us out of the country, because their base of their profit was off the bodies of slaves that they had to make those shoes for, that they had to make those clothes for. Now understand, when I say that's why they didn't, but understand what else show you how dirty even Abraham Lincoln and all of them was. More ADOS people died in the Civil War than anybody. More of us died in the Civil War, ADOS people, than anybody. Yet at the end, you're talking about sending us out of the country and not giving us, once again, denying us any benefit to your victory. Still denying us any access for making your victory possible. See? So we see Brook Brothers. We see Brown University. Also colleges. You see? Two were slave traders. Another ran a factory that used slave-grown cotton. University Hall was built in part by slave labor. These are colleges that our kids ADOS kids can't even get access to. Our kids can't even get access to. The young lady, Miss Bryant, that died, she couldn't even get access to these colleges. See? Do you see how these dots look when you start to connect them? That you must be able to connect the dots. You must throw your emotions to the side. You must throw the fact to the side that we've been here, and that we've been here. We created all of this wealth, yet we don't benefit from it. You must stop feeling like you don't deserve it and start to know that you do deserve it, because you are old. It ain't that you begging these people for nothing. You're making a demand for what you are owed. It's the weirdest thing. We see CSX rented slaves to build rail lines. We built the rail lines. Why are they trying to tell you the Chinese? It says right here who built them. We are the wealth of America. No one else. No one else. It's us that's the wealth. We're going to stroll on down this list because we see Fleet Boston. grew out of Providence Bank, founded at let me scroll down so I can see some more of that. We want to scroll down and see some more. We want to see some more of these institutions. Here we go. We got some big hitters right here. We got some big hitters right here. We got Fleet. You know, they were founded by one of the Brown brothers. See? A slave trader who owned slave ships that bank made money from the slave trade. Providence, Rhode Island was the home port for many slave ships. Many slave ships. We must wake up, man. Nobody has done what we have done. And in every conversation, I don't care who you're listening to, if they don't draw the connection back to slavery, they talking from the surface. Everything has a beginning. So how do you talk about it from the surface? You can't talk about it from the surface. You got to dig deeper and know more. We are the only people to feel guilty about demanding what we are owed. Ain't that something? Gonna shame us, gonna try to shame us for making a demand for a debt that is owed directly to us. Because if our ancestors were still in control of these organizations, these corporations, that wealth would be in our possession now. But it's in the possession of the slave benefits and their kids. While you tell yourself they ain't the same people. They're not the same white people. They're the same beneficiaries. And they doing the same thing that their granddaddy did. And they only 25. I say it again. They doing the same thing their granddaddy did. And they only 25. Because I know because you thought you saw him at the club with you. He pulled up in a Ferrari. He drunk some beers with you. He danced with you. Somehow you thought he won't just like his granddad. This proves he is. See? This proves he is. We got J.P. Morgan Chase. How many of you got loan homes through J.P. Morgan Chase? How many of you lost your home under J.P. Morgan Chase? See? What they say? Slaves from owners who defaulted on their loans. They was in possession of 1,250 slaves. Now today that sounds small. But what we got to remember, this is in the 18 and 1700s. Today's number would have been millions. That would have been millions of slaves that they was in possession of. See? We got to be able to connect these dots. Let's go on down this list. We see New York Life, insured slaves. Its first 1,000 insured policy, 339 was policies on slaves. Policies on slaves. We walk in these institutions all the time. We brag about the money they make, not understanding that money was built off the backs of our ancestors. You see, because we don't connect the dots. You must be able to connect the dots to really get free. Protesting don't do that. It's so many black different organizations that ain't talking about these things. Ain't talking about banking deserts, how the same institution that built their wealth off the backs of our ancestors or denying us access to banking now. Is it a coincidence that the same people that built their wealth, how they treated them to build their wealth, they doing it to the descendants of those same people? The only difference is we don't know who we are. We think somehow we have rewrote history and undone what ain't been undone. All the disparities we deal with comes from the things that haven't been undone. I'm going to stroll on down this list. I want to show you some more of these things we can go through. We see here Harvard, Yale, Penn, Brown. These are universities. Princeton raised money and recruited students from rich slave owner families in the South Caribbean. Princeton was not alone in hitting up slaves, owners, and traders for money and students. So did Harvard. Look at all these colleges. By the middle 1700s, most of Princeton students were the sons of slave owners. Many of Columbia students were sons of slave traders. Slave traders. What are we not seeing? And right now today, our kids are being, and us are being denied access to these colleges. What does it take for us to stop a minute and just think about it? Tiffany and Company. Man, hey, I done walked in this store myself. Found was profit from a cotton mill in Connecticut that possessed slaves growing cotton. Some of y'all done walked right in here and bought your clothes. You walked around, oh, it's some nice stuff in here. Real nice stuff in here. Real nice stuff in here. But it was built on the backs of your ancestors. And you probably was watched when you was in there. See? Still being treated like your ancestors. Connect the dots. The dots must be connected. And we got US Today. Oh, man. Its parent company had links to slavery. Changed the name. But the money that made US Today, you read it, y'all look at it, you watch it. It was built off us too. Built off us too. And here go old Will Fargo. Boy, Will Fargo, they doing all the same stuff they were doing before. Here we go. A banking company and a bank are charged and own accepted slaves as collateral. They later became part of Will Fargo by way of Wachovia in the 2000s. Will Fargo targeted blacks for predatory lending. Look at that. Hammer on nail, baby. ADOS breaking the mental chain is hammer on nail in what it's going to take to fix us. And people running around telling you to stop begging. Ain't begging, it's making a demand. It's time to make everybody uncomfortable. And if you scared to make them uncomfortable, shut up and let me do my job. If you scared them, shut up and let ADOS do our job. You see? Because we ain't scared of them. We came here to bring it. We're going to keep going. We down here at Yale University. As you know, this is an incomplete list. It means it's more. They could have went on and on. They just gave us these, you know. That's what an incomplete list means. It means it's still open. They can still connect the dots to more of these people owning slaves. You see what I'm saying? Still crime. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Those, they were just in, Will Fargo had ain't long been busted for over them predatory lending they were doing to ADOS people. So, what I try to do is connect these dots, and in connecting these dots, we try to tell our people the things that are going on, and while we always draw back through history and connect the dot to 2021, we ain't stuck in no time in history. Don't get it mistaken. What we've been able to do is understand that you can't do what was done in 1960 and 2021. The white family structure, they have over 104 trillion. I'm tired of hearing blacks keep talking about stop spending money with these white organizations, these white corporations. I'm tired of hearing my people get it wrong. You don't understand. It ain't no escaping that $104 trillion in the wealth position your people are in. I was talking to a gentleman the other day, and the gentleman made some statements to me about, and a lot of it was I. And I clearly pointed out to the man that it's no I in we. ADOS is about group uplift. We're not about I. Because to understand what's going on, just because you take yourself, your personal living experience, and you hid in a cubbyhole, and you think somehow you ran away from white wealth. The gentleman told me because he has an electric car, he hasn't paid for gas in 2 years, and he got an electric car. He also told me he don't pay for electricity. He has solar panels on his house. Oh, how nice for you. How nice for you. A lot of ADOS don't have the privilege to have that. Because a lot of ADOS out here are living with family members. And the family members are living below poverty. See, you want to tell me about your fantasy, how you ain't spending money with white folks. This was the conversation. The gentleman was trying to convince me that he wasn't spending money with white folks because he had an electric car and had solar panels on his own. Well, I connected the dot for the gentleman because he ain't clear to what he don't understand. That electric car come from white money. Period. Those that solar panels on your house come from white money. Period. He tried to tell me when I pushed back on him that it all comes from white. He said, well, they built overseas. What do these billion-dollar corporations do with their money? They send the business overseas. They send it overseas to have it done cheaper and send it back here. If you were connecting the dots, you would understand that's what Trump was complaining about. See, that's why he wanted to make it more expensive for them to move that way so they would keep their businesses over here. You don't escape that 104 trillion. See, white wealth built the solar panel. White wealth built the electric car. What are you talking about? And let's be even more specific. Let's be more specific. See, because what we got to draw the line to, how many of ADOS can afford an electric car? How many of us can afford it? As the Awakening said, electric car requires lithium, which is often mined from African countries. See, like I said, ADOS, we connect the dots. We got black people running around in a disillusion that I don't need white people money. I ain't infatuated by white people cars. If you're driving an electric car, bro, you infatuated by white people cars. Please understand that. Please understand that. It's no escaping it. I just spoke about how the black businesses that we think we support is spending the money right back with white capital. What ADOS is trying to do, and I'm going to make this as plain as I can make it. We trying to build an economic inclusion where that car from beginning to end is built and controlled 100% by ADOS people. Built right here, that money would stay in our community. Through reparations and a black agenda, we can be built within the infrastructure of the country that we have built. How don't you understand that? And let me make it even simpler about police brutality. What reparations will do, we will have real community with real wealth that we can hire our own police to police us. That's what wealth does. You be treated differently then. Protesting don't get that done. Being in the space, in this political space, get that done. Applying pressure, applying policy that are specific for ADOS people gets that done. Not sitting back telling the people that know that if we get reparations, we be made whole through this black agenda. When we say that community has wealth and that police officer looks like the people it's policing, now you have a police that approach you and talk to you with respect. How you doing today, Mr. Dickens? It's how you. I heard such and such went to the hospital today. Is everything all right? They talk and treat you just like the white police treat white people because they know and understand that is their group and that they the taxes is in their check come from that group. So that's why when you see a white man trying to stab that police officer, he doing everything not to kill him. It goes right back to wealth position again. When you see that white man pull out that gun on that police officer and he does everything in his power not to give, it's because of his wealth positioning. And when you see the opposite that goes on with ADOS men and women, it's because of our wealth positioning. Like it or not, it don't stop. And like I said, if you too scared to stand up and put pressure on them, just shut up and watch ADOS do the work. Don't push against us though. Don't stand in our way though. If you can't be the one to do it, shut up, step to the side, watch ADOS do the work, because we come to do the work. When we think about in these communities, when we think about the wealth, what it would look like if we had the real wealth that's owed to it, it changes everything. The whole structure changes. That's what we trying to do. If you sitting and thinking that's too big, you just saying you're not worth it. You're not worth it. Because whites didn't believe it was too big. They did it for their group. Nothing is too big if we get our group to apply themselves to make it possible. And with that, I go to break. And we'll be back after the break. I want my people to learn to know that you're worth it. I want you to know you're worth it. You are owed it. It's time to stop letting people shame you for the things that they did that was injustice to you. Let no one shame you on your lived experience. Stand on it, own it, push back every chance you get. And remember, if you ain't growing mentally, you failing mentally and also physically. If you can't go back and listen to something you listened to when you were 16 and critique it to make it better, you have been stuck. And that ain't how it should be. So we're gonna go on break. And when I come back out the break, anybody have any questions? Hey, put it in the chat. Anybody want to call in? The number in the chat. All right. We back. We back. We um we back. Another thing I thought about on the break when I just went on the break is Another thing I see that's really something that bothers me too. A lot of times in a lot of meetings I be in, it's like you could give black people your plan, and you could tell them your plan and how you plan to execute it. Yet they push against it, and you say, "So what is your plan?" They don't have one. They don't have a plan yet. They stand against yours. We must know and understand, right? You can't push against somebody else's plan and not have a plan. At that point, you can only go with their plan. Because if we have this meeting a week later and you go against my plan and you still don't have a plan, that means you didn't even sit down, do no research to say, look, I don't agree with William's plan, but I'm gonna go against it. But I don't know what we're gonna do. But William do know what we can do. And William can connect the dots and lay out how it would benefit us. And you still disagree. You just in the way. If you just in the way to disagree, just get out the way. If you get out the way, we can make things happen. You see? So that's the whole purpose when we talk about breaking the mental chain. And a lot of our mental conditions stream a lot under the surface of religion. A lot of people don't like to talk about that. Because we do too much of what I call reflecting the answer to the Bible or to some sort of religion that we believe in as the answer to it. And I always say that's why we here to break that mental chain. It can't be the answer to it because it's been happening. And nothing dealing with your religion, regardless if it's being a Muslim, being a Christian, it hasn't fixed it. You ain't the first that believe the way you believe, and you ain't the last. When we look at the data and we look at the numbers, these numbers occurred over amount of time. When we talk about the land that was lost, these people want people that was running around not believing. They believe. They believe. But when you look at it, if they believe and they losing, and the people that's doing all the evil acts or in the better position, who do you saying that God? I told somebody the other day that the government picks the winners and losers. And they pushed back on me and said, no, God picked winners and losers. Well, I said, if you are right, he picked white people as the winner. Is it a coincidence that your God picked them as the winner, but also all the policies that be passed makes them the winners? So do you still not say, wait a minute, I got to do something to change this? Because if we ain't here to make a difference, we are just here waiting to die. I say it again. If we are not here to make a difference, we are just waiting to die. And if that's your answer to everything that makes you have to get up and do work to fix things, that is a mental problem. Because the mental problem occurs because what you do is you use religion to escape from doing the work. And that ain't how it goes. If something is wrong, it's gonna take men and women to stand against it to fix it. And that's the truth. We must stand up. We must be counted. We must have our voice heard. We must stop paying attention to things that don't fix the inedible. The things that our kids are going to. And listen, I said this before. Stop telling your kids you love them. Stop telling your kids you love them. Yet you don't sit down 1 week out of a week and try to find a way to better the future that they are going to have to deal with. Yet you tell yourself repeatedly, a lot of ADOS black people do this. I'm too busy. I got a job. I got kids. I got a wife. I don't know when I'll have the time to do it. Well, let me enlighten you. William Dickens that said in front of you, I have I have a wife. I have kids. I have things that I also work. I work. I have, is it a quote? I have the same thing you have. Yet I manage to make time to sit down every Sunday and try to reach my people, educate my people to bring forth the light, the truth. You see? Because I know this is the most important thing that I can leave to my kids to one day, if my kids watch my show now, because I educate my kids on the same thing I'm educating you on. Because if my kids gonna be, if even if we accomplish the goals that we are trying to accomplish here at ADOS, our kids will have to protect these things. So we must be educating our kids on it. We must be doing that. We must bring our kids to the table. We must bring our nieces and nephews to the table. Now, I'm thinking I'll give you a peep into my show next week. That's something I am going to do. I'm going to bring my nephew and my daughter on this show. And we're going to have an intelligent conversation. And the goal of what I'm doing, and I'm doing it for a reason, to show you how age don't mean you have wisdom. That age don't bring forth wisdom in our group, because our group is the manipulated group. What brings forth wisdom in our group is when we free our minds. And when you free your mind, you allow your mind to take in new information and you process it accordingly from the bias that you have been taught or trained to think and see things as. That's the normal function of the mind. So when I say we come from the manipulated group, understand your granddaddy, uncles were slaves. They started to teach them how to read and write. They taught them the things they was taught. So when I say your parent did not intentionally misguide you, misdirect you, it was passed down generation after generation. It's plain as day. They didn't do it intentionally. They did it because that's all they knew. The routine. You watch football on Sunday, you go to church, you work through the week. The routine. You watch football on Sunday, you go to church, you work through the week. That is not freeing your mind. That's a system. That is indoctrination. That is indoctrination. Breaking the mental chain. The reason you find my conversation so negative, so pushback, it's passed down. And until you free that mind, you find things that let's make your life better, more entertaining. Right now, this conversation we having, the chat should be blowing up. The phone should be ringing off the hook. But if I was up here and I had some girls behind me, booty shaking, had a rapper over here rapping about something dumb, it would be millions of people viewing it. Yet, it don't change your situation or your life. Or your life. And what we got right here is powerful. That is the real matrix. That's the real matrix. How do we pay more attention to things that don't better our life, but less to the things that do? That's a mental condition. That's a mental condition. We are the only group that does it. See? That's how the Asians got their 50 million. They pay attention to things that change their life. We pay attention to things that worsen our life. That's a mental condition. We got to smoke the blunt. I gotta have the blunt, man. I need the blunt. I need the blunt. See, how do we become the group that deal with all of the disparities? Yet we the most nonchalant group that even care about the things that are changing. We don't like to read. We don't like to listen. If you do your video too long, man, your video too long, man. You can't make a 2-minute video. You can't make a 2-minute video. Everything has dumbed down our group to the worst point than it's ever been. Than it ever been. We must know that if the key was to dumb down a group, it has happened to our group. We refuse to pay attention to the most important thing. The government can change our lives too. We got to remember that. That's why ADOS fight for policies that's specific to ADOS, because we know the government can change our lives. With this money, we can also start bringing people in the room to make policies become part of their life. You must carve out space for this space to have the conversation. Out of all week long, you telling me that you don't have the craving to try to learn something new. What are we really doing? How do you win a battle when people only care about dumb things? You can't never have a serious conversation. Somehow you think you're going to fix serious problems? I don't think that's going to happen. So, I wanted to bring that to people's attention because that's what we do here. We connect the dots and we break the mental chains. So, I'm gonna bring the show to an end. I hope people enjoyed it. I want people to I hope you learned something you didn't know the night before. I hope this week you can use some of this stuff. You will see it with your eyes and you can start to dissect it because you know something you didn't know. You know something tomorrow that you learned today. That's what breaking the mental change in ADOS is driving to do. And to put you in those spaces with these local officials and make you comfortable enough to challenge them. But it's only one way to do it. We're going to have to get you to listen longer, to be willing to read. You must be able to be uncomfortable to get comfortable. That's just the bottom line. So we're going to close out. Listen to the closing because you can find out about ADOS Rocky Mount. You can find out about ADOS Triangle ADOS Rocky Mount, ADOS Twin City ADOS. We are trying to get the ball rolling to get our membership up so we can have more people to help do the work. So you'll get that information like you've been seeing in the chat. If you would like to donate. Whatever you do, hit that. This is totally free. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up. Support the channel. Hey, y'all have a good night. As always, stay strong, stay focused, and keep the damn line moving forward.